I'm already seeing that you're making a lot of difference in many lives, actually.
Yeah, I'm very glad that I'm able to do it, because that is something which I'm really proud of, or I really want to take it forward. So first I will start. That's when I will
First, they
start.
will come with a plastic surgery consultation, and then they'll shift you.
Yeah. First they don't tell what's the concern
The
also.
main
First the
concern,
beating
yeah.
around bush will
Yes.
happen. Then slowly I get to the actual problem.
So, when a cosmetic gynec case comes, how do how does your consultation look like? How do you comfort the patient? I'm sure they won't open up on the first time.
Yes, yes.
So, what steps do you take to ensure that they're more in the comfort zone?
So first, actually, my comforting questions will be routine gynac-based questions.
There's a lot of confusion, and I'm also presuming that most of the patients don't know what's the difference between labia and a vaginal, in a common society. So, what is the difference actually, if you have to tell to a patient, between a labioplasty and a vaginoplasty? So, Dr. Malvika, since now aesthetic gynecology and vaginal rejuvenation have become an intricate part of mommy makeovers, and now aesthetic gynecologists are the core of mommy makeover team. So, how did you become an aesthetic gynecology? Can you explain me your journey and what are your qualifications? How are you categorized as an aesthetic gynecologist?
So first, to start with, first after completing my MBBS, I did my masters in surgery in obstetrics and gynecology. That is MS OBGY is what I completed first. So after that, I got trained in laparoscopic surgeries.
Yeah.
So then I was, for a very long period of time, I was doing my obstetrics, laparoscopies in gynecology, etc. And then later on, I decided to become cosmetic gynecology when I completed my course of diploma in cosmetic and functional gynecology under Indian Academy of Vaginal Aesthetics. And also, I am a fellow of regenerative medicine and its applications in cosmetic gynecology. This I have done under IASRM Institute from Delhi.
That's so hand in hand for cosmetic gynecology, I guess.
Yes.
Okay, so far down in the south, how are you seeing the societal norms changing in terms of, how are people responding to cosmetic gynecology and its awareness and treatments, and what changes are you seeing?
Initially, when I was doing my gynac practice, like obviously hardly we see any other patients but for deliveries or complaining about their irregular cycles or crampy cycles, etc. Later on, I have got clients asking me regarding small things like, doc, can you comment on my labia? How are they? I'm having some urinary incontinence, or I am scared I will develop urinary incontinence when I am at a menopause age group. So can I do something now? And the question is, I don't know. So that is when I started, okay, let me
Triggered.
see, there is something which is missing in this gynecology, let me go pursue that. So that's how I started. So initially the thought came for me through a patient itself. So my persuasion started like that, but that was like 1 in 100 patients. Like if I see some 100 OP, then maybe one person is asking for that. But as time is moving on, maybe because of lot of social media and some videos circulating, or lot of educational content going on, or improving, there is lot of improvement in the healthcare system also.
Yes.
That is when I think it's more about quality of life rather than just physical health and its issues.
I know.
So now, after doing my cosmetic gynecology and after we started our Eternal Aesthetics here in Hyderabad, I think I'm getting exclusively referred patients by other doctors,
Yes.
not just primarily
Yes.
by them. Or maybe the patients themselves are seeing my educational videos and they are coming and asking me directly for such issues which actually they don't ask a routine gynecologist.
Yes.
Even something like vaginismus, where they have a lot of pain during intercourse or unable to do the intercourse. So such very varied topics where they can't discuss with their other girlfriends, they can't talk some sexual things with their partner also, or maybe they feel a little intimidated, or they don't have answers anywhere. That is where I think we as cosmetic gynecologists, we need to create lot of awareness. I think it's right now there, but it should be more and more, so that many girls or women come out and they seek treatment or ask for just a small advice, so that they can prevent many issues later on which they get, or actually take treatment for their sexual health, etc.
I'm already seeing that you're making a lot of difference in many lives actually.
Yeah, I'm very glad that I'm able to do it, because that is something which I'm really proud of, or I really want to take it forward.
So when a cosmetic gynec case comes, how do how does your consultation room look like? How do you comfort the patient? I'm sure they won't open up on the first friend, right?
Yes.
So what steps do you take to ensure that they're more in the comfort zone?
So our thing at our clinic also is like we created a separate floor for cosmetic gynecology, so that they don't interact much with other patients, and they can have their space. They can be in their waiting lounge, they can relax. The waiting lounge is also very friendly, and once they come into my consultation room, first they'll be very anxious. Oh my god, how am I supposed to start the conversation with the doctor? So first I will start. That's when I will
First, they
start.
will come with a plastic surgery consultation, and then they will shift you.
Yeah, first they don't tell what's the
What's
concern
the
also.
main
First the
concern,
beating
yeah.
around bush will happen,
Yes.
then slowly I get to the actual problem. So first, actually my comforting questions will be routine gynac based questions. So what's your age, how are your periods, what's your married life like? So routine gynac questions. In that question, slowly they'll take out one small topic, like maybe I am having little urinary issue, it is there since long time but I have neglected it, or maybe I'm having a lax vagina, not so happy with it. So like this, slowly they'll come up. And also when I talk about these questions, I have to prepare, like I have to make myself very confidential for them. I have to tell them it's okay that you, unless and until you open up, I can't give you the actual treatment. So that is how we slowly start stepwise, and only then I can finally go into the examination part.
That's, I'm sure, very comforting for all the clients. And so there's a lot of confusion, and I'm also presuming that most of the patients don't know what's the difference between labia and a vagina, in a common society. So what is the difference actually, if you have to tell to a patient, between a labioplasty and a vaginoplasty?
Actually what you said is fine, correct, because they don't know difference
Yes.
between labia, vagina and a vulva.
I know.
So they refer everything as vagina, or down there is the term what they use. So they come to me saying, I have some issue with my vagina, can you check?
Yes.
So after obviously the history and all, when we go for the exam, that is when we realize that's not labia what they are, vagina what they are
Concerned
referring
about,
to, that's
yeah.
a labia. So when we refer to the whole bottom area as such on a female genital thing, we call it vulva.
Okay.
So that's the whole area is called vulva. And the vagina is the vaginal canal through which the baby is delivered, through which the intercourse happens. That's a vagina, that's a whole like a canal. The covering lips of the vagina are the labia minora and majora. That's how we divide the whole thing. And this is very important for the women also to know this terminology, because that is when they will know what is it. That is when they'll know which doctor to look for, what is the actual thing in me, so that they randomly don't go anywhere.
True. As an aesthetic gynecologist of the modern society, how do you see where do you think this will go further, and what all new cases and new issues are you seeing, and what is that like a future of aesthetic gynecology?
I think aesthetic gynecology right now, though it is on a lesser note, I think there is only further higher up to this cosmetic gynecology, because it is like how previously no one used to go for a dermat treatment. They used to just apply some basin on their face, or just be home. But now at the age of 30 is when they are starting, okay, let me start my dermat routine.
Dermatologist.
Dermat routine, so that I will age slow. Aging is inevitable.
Yes.
That we will age slow. So slowly this aging concept has entered even a gynecological point of view. So now the clients are even bothered, like after post deliveries, they don't want to remain just like that. Previously it's like, I'm done with my kids, so I'm done. So my life is just to take care of the kids. But right now it's not like that. The women are working, they are more into educational fields, or maybe into something else. So right now the women want their life in their control, and they want even the vaginal aging to go slow.
Yes.
So that is why post-delivery they are seeking to options like vaginal rejuvenation or pelvic floor rehabilitation after delivery to avoid urinary incontinence, or just PRP injections for their improvement in sexual life, or coming to other surgical procedures what they can opt for.
Is aesthetic gynecology always surgical, or do you still have some non-surgical options?
So aesthetic gynecology, as I told you, it is cosmetic, functional, sexual, regenerative gynecology. So many things are there. So surgery is a part of it, where we correct something like labia which is not symmetrical, or a lax vagina. We can't do anything else but for do surgery in them.
Yes.
But if we want to improve their vaginal health, we have vaginal lasers. These are newer advancements which we are going, like same like face lasers, like
True.
how we go for face lasers. As the face laser will rejuvenate the whole epithelium, epidermis part of it. So same way the vaginal laser also, it will improve the mucosal surface of the vagina, make it more healthier.
Okay.
So the same way we also have pelvic floor strengthening equipment. And we also, same thing like how we are using PRPs for the hair growth, face rejuvenation. We are using the same PRP for the clitoral stimulation, for the vaginal rejuvenation.
Yes.
So nowadays, everything what we are doing for the other parts of the body, a small
applicable
note is
there
coming
also.
like, can we do this in gynecology? And
Yes.
actually it's helping.
Yes.
So when it is helping in improving their quality, then why not? So
know.
more and more research papers are coming out in it. More and more we are having conferences. Doctors from international and national, they are sitting and talking. What can we apply in our practice so that we can make that difference to the client? So that is how I think there is only way high up.
As an end point to this podcast, and being an exclusive surgeon in terms of an exclusive service, what's the most rewarding part in your whole career till date?
I have to say that I don't have one, like I have multiple such rewarding things because
Each client is probably rewarding. for
yeah,
us.
each client, because I really touch those untouched topics or
Yes.
something which they can't discuss with someone. So even if I make a small difference in it, they're really happy. They are like, thanks doc, you have changed my life.
Yes.
That's like changing the quality of life,
Yes.
so that they have a better mental and emotional health also.
Yes.
So I have an international client actually. She came to me for a labiaplasty. So she had a big labia. She's delivered 2 kids already.
Yes.
But then still she is very scared of her intimate area. So I mean, she's very conscious. She doesn't want to she's like, I haven't been to a parlor till now for my bikini waxing. That is something not what I advise, but still I haven't been to a parlor for bikini waxing, just because I am so conscious of my intimate area. And after we did the labia minora plasty and little fat filling in the labia majora, she was in love with her intimate. She's like, now I'm more conscious, and I'm conscious. I am very happy in front of my husband also.
Wow.
Not just myself. So I'm more open right now.
That's more than
So-
a facial probably.
Yeah. Even like I had a vaginismus client.
Okay.
So vaginismus is very having so much pain that they avoid intercourse.
Yes,
So
yes.
that patient also, after multiple sessions, after some counseling, after repeated dilatations, what we did, when she had active life, she has an active sexual life right now, and she also delivered a baby. Then they come to my clinic and they are like, doc, this baby is 6 years and she is, I mean, the blessing is yours. You have blessed us with a baby, because we didn't know that this can happen.
Yeah.
The fear was so much in them, pent up since some 2 or 3 years. By then they were married for 2-3 years, and there was non-consummation of marriage. So after seeing me, they were so happy. They are like, this is your blessing. I'm like, okay, wow, that's really nice.
They gave you chocolates and I ate them.
That's true. Yeah, so I think in cosmetic gynecology, the very part is that when I can help them get rid of their intimate issues or something, their lack of confidence because of them, I feel really happy and blessed to do
I
that.
can understand that. So, thank you, Dr. Malvika. This was very enlightening for all of us, and let's look forward for more information.
Thank you, Dr. Deepthi. Thank you so much.
Yes.